I just thought if I sat there for a second, you might wonder, hey, is that just a photograph or is that... It doesn't even look real, does it? That's a true backdrop on me right there. Yeah, that's my world. That's Carl's gated community. All right, well, welcome back to Travels with Carl. Man, I'm so glad you're here. Oh, man, I forgot my beverage. God, I just popped the door open, and I guess it's confirmed I don't need to leave the heat on in here anymore. It's fucking like an oven inside here. Today's episode of Travels with Carl has been brought to you by Waterloo Sparkling Water. Don't leave home without it. Oh, that's a tasty beverage. Well, welcome back. Seriously, it's good to see you again. It's good to be over here in Carl, man. I'll tell you what, it's time to start turning some nuts and bolts on this bad boy, throwing some more money at it. Get this baby road ready, get it seaworthy again. It's been a minute. Like I said last time, I know I got power steering issue. I'd like to look into the suspension because I believe it has either airlift or air controlled suspension. There's an outlet on both sides. I'm pretty sure it's air suspension. And what else did I want to do? Oh yeah, just a basic tune up on the engine and then see if I can get some headers for it. It's got a 4-barrel carburetor on it. Maybe put a high lift manifold on it. And then cut a porthole in the engine cover. Right there. That'd just be so fucking cool, right? I mean, it's cool already. Carl's cool. Everybody knows Carl's cool already, but so what is Carl's? Travels with Carl. It's about me and Carl, obviously, and about travel. But it's mostly about my life as an artist and what I've done to survive being an artist in America for 68 years. Now, of course, my parents were taking care of me for the first 18, or most of the first 18. Great parents, man. Nothing but good things to say about both of them. But I did move out early. I was outside of the house when I was 18. And I started working when I was 12. So if you've been following along, I try to emphasize that deciding at 6 years of age that you want to be a professional artist, I don't know, if I had it to do over again, I'd be a doctor or a lawyer or a hedge fund manager. It's not an easy path. So if you're a dancer, a painter, a writer, a musician, a singer, a songwriter, a calligrapher, you dabble in any of the arts, okay? A painter, a ceramicist, a sculptor, right? A printmaker, like me. It's a bitch, man. It's a bitch. And you know it don't get any easier as you get older, okay? So I've had to work all kinds of jobs. I've traveled all over the country trying to get that break, trying to find my break. Because I'm not talking about getting my art in, Walmarts or something. I'm talking about the fucking major leagues, the Super Bowl, the World Series of art, okay? That's what I'm gunning for. And I still am, because I'll never give up. Why would I at this point, right? It doesn't make sense to quit now. But for you youngins out there, think twice. That's my only advice. So we're on episode 34 today. It's going to be 52 episodes, and at the culmination of this one-year project, it's going to be 52 episodes, 52 short stories, and 52 paintings or images. Well, they're going to be paintings eventually. Right now, some of them are just images because I got pressed for time along the way. Because I am still working, okay? And I'm probably going to have to keep working for at least a couple more years. But I decided to cut it at 52 because 52 is like a a recurring number in my life. Like there's 52 weeks in a year. There's 52 cards in a deck. Okay. So the book Travels with Carl, aka, or 52, aka Travels with Carl, is going to be comprised of 52 short stories, and not just a transcript of what you're hearing today, because this is all straight off the noggin. Okay, this is a one-shot, one-trip pony. I just come in here or wherever I record it, and it's one take. Okay, if I make mistakes, I leave them in there. There's been a couple exceptions to that rule, but for the most part, I don't fuck around with editing it. I throw on an intro and I throw on a clip at the end, and eventually it'll get titles and all of that stuff. But for right now, I'm keeping it simple and trying to, not overthink it. So at the end of the year, there's going to be 52 episodes on this YouTube channel. Like I said, this is episode 34. See, I'm 6 minutes and 11 seconds into it. I always have to explain this a little bit because I want people to understand what this is about. This isn't just some guy rattling off all the jobs that he's worked in his life. This is like a 1 year art project that is going to produce, around 26 hours of video, 52 short stories, 52 paintings, and then an unlimited edition of prints of those paintings on my website, and a set of 25 signed and numbered limited edition prints of each painting that are going to come directly from my house to you, and the originals can come from my house to you, but those don't go out until the project is completed. Well, the prints can, so I stand corrected there, but the paintings, I need them till the end because I'm going to have them all shot at one time to do color plates for the book. So what's my website? www.vangogh, VANGOGH.inc, INK, like Van Gogh Incorporated. It's a play on words, so it's not INC, it's INK, like a printmaker. Okay? Every week, I plug my website, so you can go there right now, buy a bunch of art. And what's really cool about this is a company called Art Storefronts out of Austin, Texas. So they take a little piece, Bay Photo prints it in the Bay Area, and they send it right to the consumer. They charge the consumer, and then they send me some money, they keep some money, and they send some money to Art Storefronts. So you don't even have to talk to me. You can go to that website today, order yourself a print on anything from a t-shirt to fine archival quality paper, canvas, aluminum plate, and you can have it printed in any size that you want, and framed and unframed, whatever you want, and it's going to go right to your house. Okay, really cool idea. So I've plugged that. I've plugged Travels with Carl. Now I'm going to plug my book, because what if changing one thing could change the world? This is that one thing. Okay, Amendment 21-A. Okay, you all know what the 18th Amendment was. It made alcohol illegal in the United States. And what was the 21st Amendment? 14 years later, it made alcohol legal in the United States. So it's the only time in U.S. history where one amendment was created to get rid of another amendment. Okay, they made one big mistake, though, besides making alcohol illegal, which was a fucking nightmare. They should have made all the other drugs legal when they legalized alcohol. Okay? There's no other way to put it. And you won't maybe understand that until you read this book. But legalizing heroin is going to be no worse than legalizing alcohol. Okay, here's one of my favorites, Doing Time. Now, I personally have that printed on a t-shirt. Okay, so that's another thing you can do on my website. If you like my art and you just want to get a t-shirt, help the brother out. Support an artist, okay? So Doing Time is the name of that painting. And as you might imagine, it's about incarceration. But ending the war on drugs will be the single largest and most important change in the law in my lifetime. It will positively change the city you live in, the country you live in, and the world that we all live in. It's hard to even wrap your mind around the changes this will bring about until you read this book. I think about all the unnecessary pain and suffering this war brought to us all, and I'm just glad I was able to stop it. And then there's my mantra: just say no, stand with Van Gogh against illegal prohibition. You can go right to Amazon, go to the book section and order this puppy up. It'll go right to your house, okay? I'm serious. I'm not being egotistical. People honestly haven't thought this thing through. Does it make sense that we're flying around blowing boats up that are coming out of Venezuela because they have cocaine on them? People have been chewing coca leaves for fucking thousands of years, okay? It's the same thing with opium. Look at that. We spent 20 years in Afghanistan. We spent, I don't know how many, 10 years or so in Vietnam, which used to be the #1 place for opium. Now Afghanistan is, but Iran used heroin in the form of opium for thousands of years, okay? Smoking or eating it, okay? If people could get opium, they wouldn't be doing fentanyl. Fentanyl is made for surgeries, okay? It's not like heroin. It's not just a mind-altering drug. It fucking knocks you out. And that's why you see people all stooped over and acting stupid. They're not doing fentanyl because they want to do fentanyl. They're doing fentanyl because they can't get heroin or opium. Okay? So that's the end of my rant right there. Go get a book and read it. Now, today's episode 34 is about Palm Bay Tower. Okay? Now, I only have a photograph of it, okay? But it's a beautiful mid-century condominium building. It's around 20 stories tall, but it only has 3 sides to it. It's like triangular shape, but each side is like a concave semicircle, like a parenthesis. The giant balcony right there in the center of it. These are fucking killer condos, okay? Killer. So there I was in Hawaii minding my own business, and September 11th happened, and I'm like, well, fuck, I gotta get out of here, man. There's no money to be made in Hawaii, and I didn't own a house. You know, I couldn't pay my rent. So I said, well, as Jimmy Buffett would say, let me go someplace where the weather suits my clothes. And I just wanted to go to another island. Well, Key West was the first thing that came to mind. My sister introduced me to Key West, and she loved it when she went there back in the 70s. And I also fucking love it, okay? Will I ever live there again? Probably not. Just like Hawaii. Well, I'm not even going to go there yet because we're not to that episode. But so here I am. I'm in Hawaii. I'm leaving. I check in with the family and everything. I let my sister know, hey, I'm going to go to Key West because this ain't working. And she goes, hey, do you want my car? I'm going to get another car, and they're not going to give me anything when I trade it in. It was like a Toyota, I think. Nice car. You know, really used, and she was done with it. And so she just gave it to me. So I flew from Hawaii probably to LA or the Bay Area, I can't remember, and then to her house. And then I went to Tucson and hung out with her for a few minutes, and then drove to Miami. Now, I had already rented an apartment sight unseen in North Beach. So I should say not Miami, Miami Beach. So they were calling South Beach Sobe at the time. And this was 2001, okay? So I decided to call North Beach Nobe, and I rented this apartment in the from Hawaii, and I had a friend in Miami who was cruising the neighborhood and everything, checked it out for me. She said, "Well, it's it's sketchy, but it's not like Oakland, right? It's not that kind of sketchy." Well, when I got there, it turns out it was only a 2-story building, and it was kind of cool. It was old Art Deco Miami Beach kind of building, and I think there was 4 apartments on every floor, and I had a corner unit on the back of the on the back of the building. Now maybe there was 8 on each floor, something like. Anyway, it was a small building, and my landlord was a junkie. She was all strung out on heroin, and then we had some crazy fucked up neighbors, and they sold the building while I was still there. And I come home one day, and there was a note on my door, and it said that we're selling the building, and please contact this number, blah blah blah, if you're interested in more information. And you have until the end of the next month to get out, something like that. So I called the dude up just to find out about it, and he said, "Rich, I have to tell you, you're the only tenant that I'm offering this. If you'd like to stay, you can stay during the renovation, but I'm not going to extend that offer to anybody else in the building." And I said, "Well, you're a smart man." I said, "But don't take this the wrong way, but I wouldn't stay here if you paid me." And he just laughed, and he said, "Oh, I don't blame you. It's not going to be like that anymore, but I still understand. I don't blame you. I know you probably went through a bad time." I said, "Yeah, I got the fucking Miami Beach police on speed dial. This place sucks." Anyway, I moved out of there, but while I was there, because I went there without a job, okay, like I tell you, most of my life I've worked without, what I say is worked without a net. Meaning I didn't have a safety net. I didn't have anybody that was going to take care of me if things failed. And I pushed it to the fucking limit. In fact, right now, today, I'm still pushing it to the limit. I still don't have a safety net, and that's another story that you won't hear about until we get to, episode 51 or 52. But hopefully by then, things will be different, because they're looking pretty good right now. But I'm probably still going to have to work 1 or 2 more years. And that's all I'll tell you about that. But this building, like I said, really fucking cool. Okay. It was in Miami, actually, not Miami Beach, but it was in North Miami, and it was on Biscayne Boulevard. Excuse me. And it was in these multi-million-dollar condominiums. And I was hired there as a combination doorman, security, and valet. This was a gated compound. And I mean, there was a security person at the front gate. Nobody got in unless they got through the security at the front gate. And then if they got through that illegally or whatever, we would immediately get contacted from the gate that we had a problem coming in. Which I think maybe happened like once or twice, because you'll have people like follow in another person, and then you got to stop them and whatever. Anyway, so this place was the bomb, okay? All kinds of well-heeled people lived there, okay? And it faced Biscayne Bay. It had its own marina. It's had its own clubhouse with where you could dock a boathouse clubhouse where you could dock your boat. And then you could go right from your house to Biscayne Bay and take your boat over to Miami Beach if you wanted to, right across the bay. I mean, it was fucking cool. It was like James Bond shit. So let's see, who do we have there? We had the Pritzker family, family of, the Pritzker from Chicago. We had Bosch, the Bosch family there. We had an heir to the Lipton Tea Company, and he was a real piece of work. Okay, we had another family that owned 3 condos and cut a hole through all 3 of them so they could, go up and down staircases inside. One of them was just for a dog that the woman of the couple, she had rescued a dog in Jamaica, and it got at its own floor. One whole apartment was just filled with art that she was collecting. And then her and her husband lived in this was the Kislaks. They lived in one of the apartments or condos. They had their own bank. They owned their own bank, had an airplane, and pretty amazing family. And yeah, anyway, it was kind of fun, so people would roll in there, one gay couple, and I just say one gay couple just because, well, I just have to describe them as a gay couple because they were, 2 really cool guys involved in totally different kinds of work, but they had matching Rolls-Royce convertibles. And but my favorite tenant, or my favorite owner, not tenant, my favorite owner was a couple, and I didn't have as much interaction with the woman as I did with the guy. And he owned his own Italian restaurant, of course, Steve Carboni, and she had a flower shop. And the name of her flower shop was Pistils and Petals, like a flower has a pistil and a petal, right? But not like this kind of pistol. But the logo was Pistols, 2 handguns, and petals, right? That was the name of her floral shop. And he owned an Italian restaurant named Carbone's, okay? And he drove this really cool little BMW, which we never valet parked. He always parked it himself. I never moved that car. But we always joked with him about the mob, and, because, he came in one day in this fucking Fleetwood Cadillac. And we're all like, oh, whose Cadillac is that? I've never seen this car before. Steve gets out, and I go running out to valet park, and I go, Steve, where'd you get this thing, man? And he goes, isn't this a beast? He goes, look. And he stops the motor, takes the key out of it, and opens up the trunk. And I'm standing there behind this fucking Fleetwood Cadillac with Steve Carboni. And he opens the trunk to the car. And he goes, look at this fucking trunk. You could put fucking 3 bodies in there if you had to. And I said, yep, you sure could. And he goes, because sometimes you have to, you know what I mean? I go, I know exactly what you mean, Steve. You could easily fit 3 in there. Maybe 4 small ones. And he laughs, tosses me the keys, and runs inside, and on his way saying, yeah, my car's in the shop. They gave me this fucking loaner. Can you believe it? He goes, at first I thought it was a practical joke when they were giving me this thing, which, I kind of think it was, Anyway, that was Steve Carboni. He was him and his wife were probably my favorite tenants. Did I mention the Kaplans? Okay. The Kaplans were really cool. They owned the penthouse. And she knew that I was an artist, and in fact, I tried to sell artwork to the Kislaks, but she wasn't buying it. She said, no, I only collect modern art. I'm like, could you make an exception and help the brother out? Anyway, she had in one of the bedrooms in this apartment. Now, this thing is, you can see the bay, you can see fucking Miami. It's all three fucking sides of this, the whole top of this building. She had somebody doing work in one of the bedrooms, and there was like this really neat wallpaper that went around I don't know, an area over the bed. It's hard to, I don't know how to describe that, but it wasn't like the whole wall, but it was just this little section that had like this much wallpaper on it. And they had ripped a section of the wallpaper off, and she wanted me to paint it in, and it was like a pretty cool simple pattern, 2 colors, right? And so I matched the paint color, and then I touched it up so you could still tell, okay, but it wasn't a glaring big white chunk of missing wallpaper up there. So and she's like, "Well, what do you want? What do I charge? What do you charge for something like that, Rich?" And I said, "No, you don't owe me anything. Don't worry about it." And she already had $100 in her hand, and she goes, "This is not what you're worth, but here, at least take this." And so she gave me a C note. And so what we would do when they came home from grocery shopping or whatever they were doing, we would, oh, I almost forgot this other couple. I got to mention them because they were crazy. We would valet park their car. We would ask them if they wanted assistance bringing stuff up to their apartment or stuff out of their condo. And we did security. And so we also patrolled, and we got our 2 breaks and a lunch hour, and and that was it. So it was, and we were a doorman, so we opened the door, and there were usually 2 of us on and 1 guy running the desk. And there was a woman that was the manager over all of us. So, and I think she was the only woman that worked in the group. No, there was a woman that usually ran the front gate. I'm sorry, but I had hardly little interaction with her unless we talked to her over the radios. Steve Carboni's coming in, Roger. And but there was another couple, and the woman was a compulsive buyer. She was an uncontrollable purchaser. I don't know what you call that, a shopping addict. But she drove one of those BMW like SUV. I forget what it's called. And he was a dentist, and I think he finally realized that he could make a lot more money just legally buying cocaine than he could make in the dental practice. And he also owned a nightclub, and which I'm sure that he kept his dental license working so he could order cocaine by the bottle, pharmaceutical cocaine. But he owned and operated a nightclub in Miami Beach. And I just have to tell you, like, if you've never been there, like, and this was, like I said, this was 2001, but Miami Beach, when at one point like I told you, when I lived in Oakland, like, they had 100 homicides in 1 year. At one time, Miami had 500 in 1 year. Okay, Dade County. It was the cocaine fucking capital. Okay, and so to this day, it's still just jumping with nightclubs and the whole fashion industry and models, and every year they have music events there, and it's really fucking cool. And I got involved with the Miami Design Preservation League because all of the, if you ever watch Pet Detective, all of those boutique hotels down there are all, they were going to tear all that shit down because the land was worth so much. But the Miami Design Preservation League jumped in and said, no, you can't do that. This is fucking history right here. So they restored all of those hotels. And I forget her name, but she was the one woman really started the Miami Design Preservation League. So I got to meet some cool people there, and I got more to talk about Miami Beach because I'm not done yet. But like I said, read the book when it comes out, because there'll be other stories, like my story about meeting some famous Miami people. But I forget how long I worked there. It was less than a year. But it got me on my feet. I was able to move on from there. And I won't tell you what my next job was, but I moved to Key Biscayne. She don't lie, she don't lie, she don't lie. Biscayne. Anyway, that's all, man. You ready? Let's ride.
Surrounded by the bees, the birds and the breeze, his motor home in the woods where creativity seems. Sun will the boat, colors come alive on canvas. He paints, pressing on his drive with the spirits of the woods. He dances in the light, creating masterpieces every single